Okay, hello, it's me, Andrew Jones. I am a cinephile, but today it's my birthing day, and I am presenting you a little treat. I'm reading a little excerpt from my film. Oh no, my book, The Ferryman Upon the Plains. I'm a cinephile, but I'm also a bibliophile. I am an author now. I've written a book. I've had to push it out myself because no one can ever want it, because it turns out, as we saw with Horizon and American Saga Chapter 1 last year, westerns, long epic westerns, not really in the market for selling out there. You have to put it onto HBO Max and Netflix and hope that people will just click play on it without having to realise they're already paying for it in a way. So The Ferryman Upon the Plains is a similar ilk. It's a epic western. It's just under 600 pages. I'm very proud of it. It took a while to write, but not as long as something like that should do. And it's a thriller, drama, saga, family, comedy, romance. It's if you've got a western trope in your head, I've thrown that in there. If you've got the idea of wanting to have a world that you can just live in for, as I say, 600 pages, it's got that. If you just want to have a revenge chase thriller, we throw that in there. It's super violent. It's really fucking violent. Dangling eyes and throats and groins and shit like that, because I'm a nasty freak. It's also dry in that kind of, oh, haha, there's a joke there, and I didn't realise it, but it's actually that joke there, and I've put a couple in this one as well, so you'll be able to hear it. But basically, the premise is a ferryman, a man upon the river who ferried people across during a Western Expansion, Oregon Trail, that kind of shit. He has lived a nice life, and no one's ever considered him because he's just part of the journey. He just helps make lives easier and better. And things go down, and he has to take umbrage with the fact that things go down because the world has decided to bring hate upon his realm. He did nothing wrong, and all that he gets is trouble. And when he gets trouble, trouble goes and finds worse. An eye for an eye makes the world blind, and this is what the book's about. Yippee! But it's good. There's a lot of fun in it too. It's not just sad and miserable, but it is also sometimes sad and miserable because it's me. I'm Andrew. I'm sad and miserable. Take a little listen, see if you like it. I haven't done an audiobook. This is the closest I've done. It took me a long time to do this because I don't like doing this thing, and I don't have a place where I can do this privately too often. But hi, go and buy it at one not good retailer. Amazon, unfortunately. It's Kindle and paperback and vanity and paperback. So probably don't get the paperback, go for the Kindle. Not the best option, but that's all we've got at the moment. Maybe I'll do an audiobook. When you listen to this, you realise, no, I shouldn't do an audiobook. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the commentary yesterday. It's my birthday today. Happy 35th birthday. I'm a published author, technically, but only technically. Self-published. Vanity. I'm a piece of shit. I hate myself. I'm fucking depressed. I'm broken. And in a couple of days' time, we do a silly episode on Alvin and the fucking Chipmunks. It's a disaster. It's good. It's not good. The film's not good. The episode's really good. So listen in and go and buy the book, please. It helps. The river seemed calm, the wind a little forgiving today. Samuel sat on his stool and sweated a lot less than other days this season. He stared at his boot, the dirt claiming ownership of the colour of its sole, the tracks worn over years. He could just wash it in the river right now, Samuel considered. It wouldn't take his foot with the tide, but then he'd have a wet boot. Wouldn't look good if the ferryman had wet feet. Maybe safer to ford their own way across than go with the man on solid ground, dripping wet. He chuckled to himself. All these years manning the river, that'd be the moment something would come at him, he thought. Of course, only then. Samuel maintained his every day instead, and sat there, and rested, and waited, and listened, and looked, and was. The wind twanged on the wire above. Sturdy as the taut rope was, it could just decide one day to give instead of take, cutting through the breeze for so long it might just snap or collapse. It wouldn't. Samuel knew it wouldn't. It was built to last. It was all built to last. But man's plans are in God's hands. The odd man listened to the twanging and felt the vibrations on the pole from the wind's battle with the wire. It grounded him as much as it let him soar like a kite in that moment. To be a bird briefly perched, to open wings and let gusts give graceful flight. Not that there was anywhere Samuel much wished to go beyond the here and beyond the now. Samuel took a sip of water from his pouch and felt calm. Their figures struck the hazy horizon. 2 tall men atop stallions, 10-gallon hats, big even that far away, and making a decent time from there to here. Samuel hopped to his feet and touched his brim as the lawman stopped by the bankside. One lawman offered a howdy as he hopped off his saddle. The other stayed silent, peering far beyond the river, always on the lookout. "What can I for you today, officers?" "Well, sir, perhaps you've seen something of a roguish gang about these parts." Samuel removed his hat, forehead glistened off the sun's attack, and scratched at the wisps behind him. He shook his head and put the hat back on. "I've seen many a sort these last weeks, but can't say any that didn't pass courteousness." The lawman swallowed a little saliva as he examined the aging soul in his natural habitat. "Well, if you see any, head up your sheriff." "Of course." "Can we make crossing?" "If your man unmounts his steed." The saddled lawman dismounted without taking eyes off the distance. Samuel grabbed his oar and headed towards the ferry. The talking lawman threw a hand in front of the old man and presented coins. "This should ferry." Samuel examined the coins, rolled them in his hand for a moment, then put a few back in the lawman's palm. "A discount for those that protect." "Thanking you." Samuel stepped onto the ferry and made space for the lawmen to walk their horses onto the wooden structure before pulling up barrier and unmooring. The ferry's rope didn't pull hard on the wire above, the tide still calm and kind. Samuel began to punt across the width. "Coming from afar?" "Few states over." "Marshals, then?" "Just lawmen lost in the hunt." "These people must be something fierce to ride so far west." "Following a trail on the trail." "Trail of what?" "Blood." Samuel paled. He shook his head, but it wouldn't let the shivers escape his body. The 3 men kept silent on the platform as it gently bobbed up and down. Samuel pushed on until his oar could no longer reach bottom and held the pole as the tide did the work transporting the ferry further across. He gently rowed a little when the ferry felt slowing, his arms bearing the brunt of the push. The talking lawman examined the rope leading to the wire above, and the structures in place on both sides of the river. "Fine ferry you got here. How long you worked on it?" "Going on 34 years. Forted and built it all myself." "Yourself? Ain't no governing on this?" Samuel shook his head once again. "When we, Mrs. Wright and I, journeyed west in those days, wasn't much of anything in these parts. We figured why keep going and find even less of anything if we could make a life here and now. So we did, and still do. Harshest, wildest, deepest river I ever did come across. We did ever find ourselves facing. Fording it was a trick and then some. Don't know how our caravan continued on beyond, and whatever became of them. But I know I'm safe and happy and alive here. And this river, this darn miracle of God, has kept me like that. Kept us all like that." The ferry planted itself in the dock on the other side. Samuel moored and dropped the lip, and the lawmen walked their horses off onto steady land. "Well, thank you for the assistance, and good fortune in your future. Keep your eyes and ears out. Someone will always be there to aid." The lawmen returned to their saddles, the silent one finally high enough to look onto the horizon once more. "Hope you find your man, officers. And with haste." "Thanking you." In unison, the lawmen tipped hats to Samuel and clicked tongues at their mounts, heading off beyond. Samuel watched as they returned to figures in the distance. He rubbed his aching forearms and laid the pole on the ground for one moment. Samuel dipped his arms into the tranquil tide and soaked up some much-needed moisture. A deep sigh as he stood back up and clung back to the oar. He looked to see if there was any movement on this side of the river, then turned back and set off across again. Samuel stood atop his ferry, oaring slowly back over, his forearms aching, his back cracking, his skin breaking in the sun, his hair dancing in the air. A small man stood by the dock back on dry land, staring at the wood structure. The poles in place around the area. He leaned in and gave a deep stare at Samuel's stool as Samuel slowly made his way. Much as the man stared at his stool, Samuel stared at the man, examining him and thinking on intentions. The man looked over to Samuel as his ferry closed into the dock. The man waved, showing his hands both empty. "Good noon, sir." He pushed his round spectacles up to the brim to see the entire world clearer. "Hello. May I assist you?" "Perhaps." Samuel landed on dock, dropped lip, and moored, the stranger not calculating into his routine. "You seek transport?" "Well, not that kind of assistance." The man took in the entire river with his double-lensed eyes. How far do you say this crossing runs?" Samuel stood up next to the man, himself some 1.5 feet taller than the bespectacled being. Samuel turned to look back over to the water he just crossed. "About 300 foot." The man nodded, then opened his tweed jacket, a hand diving into a pocket and removed a piece of paper, unfolding it from small to rather large size. The wind flicking at the paper, a light noise of air rippling. He held the paper out to Samuel. "Would you mind for a moment?" Samuel clutched the paper. The man dove his other hand into the other side of his jacket and pulled out a pen and an inkwell. He opened the well and dipped the pen in, putting the lid back on and pocketing the well in routine like Samuel docked his ferry. "Thank you kindly." The man took the paper back and jotted ink upon it. "And the bed? How far down?" "Oh, what's this all regarding?" "Just a survey, sir." Samuel surveyed the man and held the rowing pole up. "This, and then some. Ain't ever seen all the ways down. Ain't nobody did that seen all the way up again after." The man pushed his spectacles back up after a gravitational pull and put the paper in his mouth. He opened his jacket once again and pulled some measuring tape out, holding it against the oar from bottom to where it was dry, then took the paper from his mouth and juggled all items until more notes were made on the sheet. "All very expected." "You're surveying a lot of crossings. Don't seem you're much the outdoorsman." The man rolled the measuring tape back in one hand, his other holding the paper and pen, slowly dripping ink onto the ground. He looked up at Samuel as he put the tape back in his pocket. "You're not sizing me up too, is you?" The smaller man smiled politely and held his hand out. Samuel placed his in return and shook, looking down onto the Weasley figure. "Oh, the state appreciates your many years of hard service to this here crossing, Mr. Wright." Samuel removed his hand from the courtesy shake. "Ah, you're from that lot." "Quite. And we're looking to compensate you kindly for all your efforts. The discovery, the founding, the upkeep." "I've had many of you come by over time, and I'm still here. What's that tell you?" "Well, that you don't see the future, perhaps." The man looked away from Samuel, pulled out a satchel of water and gulped down. Samuel watched the small man squirm in the sun. "I see it true as it is, sir. And all these years it's never come as those enterprising fellows proclaimed." "Well, maybe not, but this here ain't about simply offloading your design. We're paving a path into the next age, Mr. Wright. The state wants a permanence on this spot." "They want something they can control, you mean?" "That might say. My business is the crafting, not the designation." With that, the little fellow handed his water to Samuel. He gladly grabbed the satchel and replenished his hydration. "Sooner than you think, this land will be built in ways you can't even contemplate. None of this makeshift work, this craft, production, sturdiness." Samuel pushed the satchel back to the little figure and sat on his sturdy stool, dropping coins into his collection. He massaged his forearms and lay his oar pole in front of him. "I'm perfectly capable of making my own way around here. Been steady these many years on my own." "And yet you, as good as any of us, aren't built to continue into the hundreds. Time will be your stick won't be moving the speeds people desire and at the frequency they'll require." "I have boys, strong, hardy. They'll keep it up." "And you'll build more ferries? Down the whole river, 50 grandkids wading up and down all manner of day and night?" "If that's what it takes." The man shook his head and took his glasses off and rubbed his eyes. The sweat from sun and skin ran down his brow. "A nice thought, but you best look to accepting what we offer here, for all that's good." "Is there menace in that intent?" The man put his glasses back on and stared at Samuel, now eye level. "Oh, no, sir. Person to person, eye to eye, lest you lose everything and then some. These folks, they want what they want, and they get it however they can." The man shook his pen until the last blots of ink dropped onto the dirt, waved his paper in the air, then folded it up and pocketed both pieces. "It'll come, sometime and somehow. I hope, sir, you're ready to move on before you drown in it." Samuel lit a cigarette and blew smoke towards the man. He coughed and waved off the puff. "Think on it, Mr. Wright. No man ever stood on service forever. A legacy isn't something you live to see." The man walked off, hopping on a small horse in the distance, and disappeared over the world. Samuel spat water back to the dirt, next to drops of black ink. The sun made the liquid hiss into the atmosphere.
Are You Movie Mad is part of the Podnose Network, the UK's leading independent entertainment podcasting network, produced and edited by Andrew Jones, executive producer George Grimwood. To find out more about Podnose's network, go to www.podnose.com.